The gift of the body is that it's simple. Thoughts are not simple. Oftentimes, what generates a lot of our suffering are our thoughts. Because thoughts have content, and we usually have an opinion about that content. And that opinion leads to an emotional response. And that emotional response usually proliferates more thoughts. And so what happens is we enter this realm where we might have been the observer, separate, noticing there's thinking going on, there's also experience going on. But the more activated we become, the more enticing the story, we lose our ability to stay as the witness, and we become merged with the story. What the body does, or staying in sensation does, is it opens up the field of our attention so that that thought is not the entirety of the experience, but it's just this small thing in the totality of the fullness of my experience. So there's the ability really to pull back and to be able to notice that the thoughts are going on without that gravitational pull. Unless we're experiencing pain, or unless we have trauma around feeling the body, most of the time the body is neutral. A lot of the time, once you start really observing and being and feeling, what you might discover is sensations actually can be slightly pleasant. There's something soothing about sensation. There's something quieter and more neutral and less valence to sensations than thoughts. So it's an optional place for the attention. Because we have not been trained to pay attention to our body, unless we have some kind of physical condition, or unless we developed physicality as part of our development, such as, we were into sports or dance or anything that we were using the body. Most of us are just ahead. We're not even ahead, we're just really thinking. And so what I'd like to do right now is I want to do a little activity where we actually can start feeling sensation by moving. Because sitting quietly is making it hard to feel sensations. And so we can turn your camera off if you want. I'm going to give a guidance just to start, and then I'm going to let you move and feel and be in the body. So I highly recommend that you actually get off the seat that you're on and stand up. Of course, if you don't want to, you don't need to. You can also move in your chair. But it gives a little bit more range of freedom. So if you are standing, you can leave your eyes open or closed. For me, it's easier when the eyes are closed because there's not the distraction of the visual field. The key here are very small, slow movements. You can start by just feeling the feet and letting the hips slowly move in whatever direction you want them to go, and start connecting to the sensations in the leg. Do a large circle with the hips. Feeling how the muscles pull against it. And even the weight of the upper body. Maybe it's the arms or the shoulders. Let your hips move slowly, however they want. Allow yourself to drop into the sensations. And then coming back up to neutral. You could start to move the arms. Noticing how heavy they are. Letting them bend or stretch. Feeling pull. Maybe there's tingling. Or shaking. Let your wrists move as well. Experiment with large movements. Keeping it slow enough so that you can actually really feel all of the sensations. Can play with letting the knees move too. Maybe the legs want to move. Give yourself permission to be weird. Don't hold back. Let the body move however it wants to. Resist the urge to follow a form like a yoga pose or something you already do. So that you're really stepping back, renouncing control, and letting the body choose what it wants. And your job is to enjoy what it shows you. I'll go for one last minute. And when you're ready, slowly coming back. What did you discover or observe? The body knows. We override what the body's wanting to do all day long by forcing it to stay still, by putting it in positions that are not natural, and then being upset when it complains, when there's pain, when there's something that goes wrong. If we get out of the way, if we were to follow instead, if we were to honor the millions or billions of years of evolution that this creature has gone through, what would it be like? So a part of this is a reframe, and I call it getting back to being an animal. What would happen if I were to reconnect with my animal side? Because the body knows. The image I always like to use is that of like a deer. You know how deer are very squirrely, like they're always kind of, because they're prey, right? So they're very in their sensory. And so if they hear a sound, they'll stop what they're doing and immediately they'll start scanning. And the ears also go, right, in different directions, scanning and smelling, right? And noticing what's happening. So the body, our body is doing the same thing. We're just not conscious. The body is always the first thing that meets experience. Always. So the body knows a lot more than our mind or our consciousness knows of what's actually happening. And we get sometimes experiences of this when there's an incongruency between what the mind is perceiving that's happening, and there's just some other part of us that is like, no. For example, when somebody's lying, right? Your mind is hearing the words. You even maybe want to believe what they're saying, but the body's picking up the posture of the other, the tone of the voice, the sounds, everything, right? The body's picking something up. Or if you've ever had the experience that somebody, I get this every time I get into my car, I know if somebody's been in my car because they've changed the setting of something, whether it's the mirror, whether it's the chair. And I just get in and it's like, something is off. I don't know what it is, but the body knows something is off. We're the last ones to find out. Bringing back our somatic awareness is a way of us having a deeper connection to what's happening around us. Mindfulness, in a sense, is being able to bring those atrophied aspects so that they can also support us as we navigate our lives. And last time I talked a little bit about how not only is the body constantly scanning and picking up information, it's also reacting. And so that if there is any sense of unsafety, the body contracts and pulls together its resources to do something, to move into action, whether that's to launch off an attack or whether that's to run, or if it's overwhelmed, maybe it will just shut down and stay very still until safety arises again, right? But the body is reacting always. We don't even know it. If somebody were to throw something at us, we would already recoil without even seeing that something was thrown at us. And so there's this huge resource of information that is available to us that for the most part, we completely have neglected. And so not only is the body a place that can be soothing when we drop our attention into sensations or the sensory field, whether that's visual or auditory or scent, smelling, all of that pulls us away from this narrow focus that we have on just mental processes. And we already know how unreliable the mind is, because the mind will take some data points and will construct a story out of it because it wants to feel like it knows what's happening so it can feel safe. But most of the time, that story is very subjective or biased and oftentimes inaccurate. Tuning into what the body is doing is a more accurate reading of what's happening. So that if I'm talking to someone and I'm noticing that my whole body is feeling contracted, it wasn't before I came into contact with that person, but when I came into contact with that person, my whole body contracted. That to me is a sign that something is happening that I want to know about. I want to investigate further. Oftentimes when we're making big decisions in our life, what do is we go at it from a mental cognitive way. We write our pros and cons list. We go and listen to other people's advice. We try to figure it out in a cognitive way. And we completely neglect what the body is doing in that moment of decision. We also have this idea that things need to happen very quickly. And that is not always how the information arises to our consciousness. It takes time for the body to assimilate all of the different stimulus, integrate that in a form that is coherent enough to make it to consciousness. And this is why not only attuning to the body, but giving it space and time to process what's happening is really important. One of the things that we can include in our meditation practice, remember, meditation is just a lab, right? It's just a lab where we play, we experiment, we have fun, is what would it be like to start paying attention to the body throughout the day to see what's it trying to tell us? Because my whole body might be saying no, but my mind is insisting on a yes, and I'm going against what it's wanting and forcing it to do something it doesn't want to do. Like maybe stay up longer to finish something, or maybe to skip a meal because I'm busy. What if instead we were to honor what it is trying to inform us? If we were to change our relationship to it, that instead of it being a machine that we are entitled to drive and use, this is a very sensitive and loyal being that is continuously renewing, rebalancing, allocating resources towards us being able to have the life we want. So you can play with movement this week. Let yourself be a silly noodle when nobody's watching, just whatever you want to do. And see if you discover pleasure. There's a lot of pleasure in the body. Whether that's a soothing pleasure of feeling the warmth of my hand on my heart when I'm feeling overwhelmed or uncomfortable, whether that's just taking the time to feel and discover all of the sensations that are available, to this beautiful gift we have of mobility. Look how smoothly we can move. And I will tell you that that will change with time. As if you haven't discovered that yet, that fluidity goes away. So don't you want to enjoy that? Don't you want to really explore and let yourself be with this gift?